Hi there YouTube, XtremeTrainz here. Now in front of me you're seeing not something which I bought on the internet and imported from overseas, but something which I found in my local Kmart exactly the same time that I found the Thomas Mini launches, which is the most recent review that I did. And that is the 2016 3-packs of the Thomas & Friends Minis. This was not something I was expecting, and as I will soon explain to you, these actually aren't as good a way to collect the Thomas Minis as I thought they were. But that said, I'm not going to spoil the surprise. Let's open them up, see how cool they really are. Come on guys, let's do it. So at the time of making this video, only 4 of these 3-packs were available. Having looked on the wiki, I know there are other ones, there's the DC ones as well, but when I was in the store, these were the only 4 that I found. And as you can see, the way they're packaged, I'm pretty sure is similar, if not exactly the same, to the way they were done in the US. Let me just lift up the camera a little bit so we can get a little bit more of that in there. As you can see, they've got that kind of zigzaggy design, which I think looks really nice. You've got the 3 minis diagonally facing up, so when it's hanging, they're kind of up. You can see the front, the face, which I think is really important for a Thomas toy. Always good if you can see the face. You can see the sides and the back. Turn them over, you can see that they're actually multilingual. Now that's because in the same way that the Minis launches were Canadian stock, these are also the international version of these. Like, there isn't a specific Australia version as there was with some of the other Thomas & Friends merchandise. This is the one that's the same for all countries, so it's pretty much everywhere outside of the US is what this packaging is for, which is something that I thought was pretty interesting. On the back you can see you get a little description of which engines you get in this one, which I think is really nice, helps with the collecting, particularly of parents, and you also get an idea of the other 3-packs. So the reason I knew that these were in this wave was because each 3-pack refers to another 3-pack, so these 2 refer to these 2 as the different ones you can collect. They're also perforated on the back to make them easy opening, which is nice, but also a little bit random because, like, who really cares if they're easy to open or not? I don't, but okay, sure. But yeah, that is how these guys are packaged, and it's really interesting to see these appear in Australia this year, considering we didn't get any of these packets last year. They only were sold in the blind bag. So it's curious to see that they are rolling out this kind of packaging style beyond the United States of America. So that's cool. Alright, enough about this. Let's get into this. So the first thing to notice about the 3-packs that are in front of you is they all come from series 1 or 2 of the Thomas Minis blind bags waves for 2016. Now there's actually a couple of new molds in here, and that would be Stanley and Flynn, who I've got mixed up. That's definitely Flynn and that's definitely Stanley. And then you can see that this is the only set with 3 brand new minis. So as I'll talk about in a minute, if you've got all of the last year's minis like I do, these 3 packets are less exciting because you get a repeat of Classic Salty, Classic Victor, and Classic Porter. But I'll talk about that in a minute. Alright, so looking at this first 3-pack here, you can see you get what is called Core Moments. Weird name, I have to say. I feel like Favorite Moments or Classic Moments would have made more sense, but sure, we can go Core Moments. Is Chocolate Covered Percy. Now that's from Percy's Chocolate Crunch, which is a Season 6 episode, I believe. And these are really nice. I always love these kind of classic homage style toys, whether it's in Wooden Railway or it's, you know, in mini form. So this one is really nice. I really think this is going to look cool, and I think it's nice that we're going to get a couple of different engines in this style. And I think almost this is the kind of theme which I'd actually love to see almost every classic kind of engine have. Like, you know, I think it'd be awesome to see, you know, Henry when he's, you know, stuck in the tunnel, so covered in cobwebs. Stuff like, you know, hard-working Edward when, you know, from Season 1. All that kind of stuff. Even stuff like Diesel 10 covered in mud when he's fallen in off the ravine. That kind of thing. I think Core Moments is a really nice theme. I'm excited to collect the rest of that. So I think this Percy is really nice, and I love, even though it's quite simple because it's all just brown, the way that chocolate's done looks really, really nice. It actually looks a lot like chocolate and not too much like poop. Alright, so we got Classic Salty. I'm going to look at the classic one separately, so I'm not going to spend too much time on him, because I'm going to look at him in a minute. Next one you get in this is, now I believe it's Spooky Sampson. I think is it meant to be King Kong Sampson? Is that why it's spooky? I'm not Not totally sure what's going on with this one. It's a little bit weird to me. Creature Sampson, sorry. There you go. I've just looked at my notes. This is Creature Sampson. Makes more sense why that he's still meant to be a monkey. Although, like, the bananas seem weird. Like, they're just so random. Like, why would a monkey be covered in bananas? That we would be eating the bananas, right? I don't know. So this one to me looks a little bit weird and doesn't quite fit the creature vibe that they were going for. And I also think that, you know, the cool thing about the Thomas Minis is they have all really different themes, and I think the fact that I've got this confused between spooky and creature is a sign that maybe those themes are a little bit too close together. But that's okay. Moving on to that, this one is also a creature. So this is creature Gator. He's cool because he's actually got a different print on the face. You can see he's got a little tooth there, which is really nice. Definitely a cool addition. Really like this alligator print. I think this was a great choice for Gator. You know, it's practically in the name. If they didn't make him an alligator, it would be thoroughly confusing. They did a really, really cool job of that. No printing on the back, which is disappointing because, as you can see, Percy's been printed on the back in the way that this is actually all brown. It doesn't actually look like it, but this is actually brown plastic for Percy, and they've painted over it with the green. So it's kind of like a reverse. Whereas you can see what's happened with Gator's been done like the other minis for the 2015 minis, where the base colour is that green, and they've printed over the top the alligator stripes. So illusion is lost on the back, and I think it's really clever the way they did the Percy like that. I think these are kind of the models where it would probably benefit if they did him a darker green to blend a little bit more with the print, but that's okay. Then we have Sports Twin. I'm gonna have to check which one it is because I can never remember which is which. Bash, Sports Bash. He's kind of interesting. Orange was on is a nice color. I think it does enough to make me think of the Misty Island engines, even if we never ever want to think about them again. But also it's a cool way of doing it. I like the kind of burnt orange that's used on the wheels. I love the way that this definitely looks like a basketball. You've got the Logging Loco Misty Island logo on top there as like a team name. I think sports is a cool theme. I think this is a cool use of the colours. Yeah, I'm a fan of this one. Again, Classics Victor, talk about him in a minute. Classics Porter, talk about him in a minute. They're just all going over into the naughty corner. Next one we've got here is Stanley. He's a brand new mold. He's called Classic Stanley because he's, you know, doesn't have anything done to him. This is a really, really nice mold. I've always liked Stanley. I thought he was an interesting character. I thought he looked really cool, had a really nice design, and I actually really liked The Great Discovery. I thought it was a bit weird, but I thought it had a nice blend of, you know, fun songs, crazy enough story, and I think the real thing that lets down The Great Discovery is Pierce Brosnan, soz lol. But yeah, this one is awesomely done. They've done a very good attention to detail in getting the face shape right, just coming in for that face just because it's a new one. I'm trying to get nice and close. Very good use of the face. The funnel's done really well. All that printing on the side is very crisp, very nice. Even down to putting his little whistle thingy on the top of his cabin. That's not just printed on. That's not like just printed in that kind of gold colour. It's actually relief. As you can see, it is actually a little bump on top. And that kind of attention to detail is awesome. The same with these little whistles there. You can actually, it's hard to get your fingers in, but they are actually textured. It's not just flat painted gold. There are tiny little, you know, little knobs, which I'm just trying to show you there, if you can see them, for his whistles, which I think is awesome, awesome, awesome. Very nicely done. This guy is very cool. Very happy to have this Stanley. One of my favourite of the classics immediately. Next one is for a new series for this year as well, which is Electrified theme. This is Electrified Luke. Now, I love the transparent engine that we got last year, which was Skarloey, but the problem with this Luke is they've used too dark a green. So he's not very translucent, particularly with all the printing all over it. So as much as you can see his running board is actually like a translucent black colour. You can see that when it's like that. And he's actually a translucent green. He really doesn't show the light coming through him from many angles. Like a little bit from the back, you can see the metal weight inside. But I think they kind of overprinted him and used too dark colours. I think this needed to be a much lighter black for it to work being see-through. Or they maybe needed to do the frame in that same kind of colour as well, which they've kind of tried. But they've really only done the running board and this back part, his engine part, in that translucent plastic, and it really just doesn't have the same effect that the Skarloey did. Because even if I'm just going to move the camera for a second. Sorry everyone, probably should have stopped it. You can see that even when I put it up to the light, he kind of doesn't really... He kind of is transparent, but it's not the same effect, which it probably could have. So I'm a little bit disappointed in that one, because it just doesn't quite pull off the transparent engine look. Now we've got Patchwork Hero. Big fan of this one. Although I thought Hero of the Rails was pretty ordinary as a film, I really liked this idea. It was kind of weird, it was kind of funny, but it looked awesome. This is very cool. I'm so glad we finally got one of these. The attention to detail again on this one is incredible. Not only do you have all the funny colours, but you can see the printing's covered in dust and kind of cobwebs, and there's speckles in that green plastic on the front there to make it look like it's dirty and gross, you know, right out of the packet, which normally I'd be like, ugh. But on this engine looks awesome. Very, very happy with this. I think they really nailed everything about this one. This is a definite must-have. Big fan. Next one is Classics Flynn, who I was pleasantly surprised about. I have to say, I was thinking, oh, Flynn, like, that's going to be weird in Minis form. But I actually think it looks alright. Like, sure, he's got that same comical massiveness of the wheels on the bottom. But I think they did a very good job with capturing his shape in that Minis compact form. I think they've done an awesome job on the face. The very detailed printing really works in his favour in really bringing him to life. You know, in terms of that, even with his like little water guns and stuff on the top. I think they did an awesome job. My only problem is that, again, if you compare him to some of the other engines, he is actually quite tall. I'll just bring that a little bit closer so you can see. If I line the wheels up, you can see he's actually significantly taller than some of the other engines. Like, it's only a couple millimeters, but when you've got such small engines, I worry that he might not be compatible with some of the future playsets that come out. That would be my only thing. But an awesome model to look at. Last, but certainly not least, for the new ones this year in these first 4 3-packs is Graffiti Gordon. This is pretty cool. I'm a big fan of this. I think it's very nicely done. I mean, ooh, the indignity is what Gordon would say if he woke up with graffiti on him. But it's quite cool. I'm a fan of how this looks. I think they did a really cool job of doing something weird, but also keeping very much to the spirit of the engine by, you know, having that graffiti writing, but having it say number 4 Gordon. I think that's really cool. I really like this one as well. I think it's one of those ones which is kind of subtle, but it's also clever. So displaying him like this is when you're like, hang on a minute, that's Gordon, but it's not quite Gordon. And that's kind of cool. So they're the new ones from this wave. My favourites would have to probably be these ones at the front here. So I'm pushing these. These 4 are a little bit meh to me. These ones are definitely must-haves in my book. The last thing I want to clear up was some people, you know, were saying, because I've read it on the wiki, that this year the faces are printed in higher resolution than in previous years. Now, that I cannot see being true at all. They have slightly different expressions sometimes, but that's pretty much it. If we take a look at, for example, Salty, I'm going to try and get nice and close in on his face there. Come on, camera. Oh, it doesn't love me. Really doesn't want to. There you go. You can see that this Salty, which is the new version for this year, is looking a little bit, you know, sideways, and this one's looking slightly more straight on, but it's not really different in terms of the paint details. You can see that both of them have misapplied kind of little sanding domes, I think they, or whatever. That's his exhaust stack. Sorry, my bad. You can see this one is kind of spilled over one side, and this one's spilled over the back. And the same with his horn. It's kind of printed quite neat on this one, a little bit messy on this one. But apart from that, there really isn't any discernible difference in the facial quality. I've compared a couple of different ones. Again, with Victor, if I just put him into this frame so it's nice and focus, you can see that there really isn't a lot of difference, if anything, in the way they're printed or the way they look. So as far as I can tell from my experience from this first wave, there is no difference between the classics from 2016 and 2015, so there's no need to go pick them up because as far as I can tell, there isn't any difference. Okay, so what do I think of these 3-packs? Well, I think the first thing to say is, overall, of these minis, although I liked more of them than I didn't like, I think the sheen is starting to wear off the minis to some extent. I think definitely last year I was really, really excited by them, and I think this year Mattel needs to up their game a little bit, and as I said, do more than just give us, you know, more repaints of the same engines. They really need to work hard to keep the Minis as exciting as they were last year. And that's doing things like introducing new engines, which is why these ones were big favourites of mine and stuff like that, as well as bringing the sets, which I know they are now bringing the Twist and Stunt turn set to Australia, which is exciting. I have actually just ordered that, so that'll be coming soon. Doing that kind of thing is what's going to propel the Minis from just a one-off fad to something which actually lasts in the Thomas & Friends franchise. So that's been my first thing to note on that. But I think realistically, now, the way these 3-packs were priced when I bought them was $8, which actually makes them more expensive than the blind bag toys, depending on where you buy them. So, depending on which shops you go to, the shop where I bought these 3-packs, the Minis themselves, when they buy themselves, are $2.50. So, you actually find it cheaper to buy them individually from the store which sells the 3-packs. However, other places sell the Minis for $3, in which case it's going to be cheaper for you to buy the 3-packs. So, depending on which shop stock which waves of Minis will dictate whether or not these are good or bad value to you. But the key thing is, this is the only one so far which has 3 brand new original Minis. The other ones all have a repeat. So, even if you are getting the Minis at the most expensive price, these 3-packs still end up being more expensive because you get a duplicate here, here, and here, like I have. So essentially, I'm paying $4 for each of the new Minis, and that's just, like, that's craziness, right? It's almost as crazy as it was when I bought the Christmas Minis and paid $6 per Mini because I had all the other ones that I wanted. So, my biggest thing to say about these is that if you have the patience to wait for the blind bags, I would do so. I more purchase these out of curiosity rather than anything else, and I can say that for someone, if you've already got a substantial Minis collection, and more importantly, if you've already got any of the engines that are in these 3-packs, steer far away from them because they're not worth your time. Much better to hold it out, wait for the Minis in the blind bags to come out. And as we know, the codes are still on them for this year, so work out the code. Someone always posts online in a YouTube video or whatever. It's already on parts of the internet. Thomas Wiki has them all on there for Waves 1. Do it that way, guys, because that is the way you're going to get the most bang for your buck with these Thomas Minis. But that's enough from me. Let me know what you guys think. Are you happy that we're getting 3-packs now, or were you happy with the blind bag method? Are you going to pick any of these up? Are you going to wait? Which ones are your favorites? Let me know in the comments below. Do all those cool things to do on YouTube, which is like and subscribe and share it to your friends, because your friends definitely love it when 19-year-olds are making videos about XtremeTrainz during their uni breaks. And of course, guys, if you've gotten to the end of this video, because my Minis ones always tend to be really long, thanks for watching. That's all I've got time for. This is XtremeTrainz.